speech, and they're going to go the Lee Jae-myung, which is Korean current president, which is he won by fraud, and he's going crazy right now, and we got very crisis in Korea and turning into a communist, which is pro-China, pro-North Korea, and anti-America. So we are here after this. We're going to talk about somebody who doesn't like America. They don't like Trump, they don't like somebody. Get out of here. I mean, I know I'm a migrant, immigrant too, but somebody complained living with your environment, and where you live with the people and neighbors. They started complaining, but you leave it. That's what we're going to be focused on with the State Department. I'd like to say to the candidate of the people, there are so many politicians out there try to win their own dignities and their pride, but the main thing is the citizens, which is your neighbors, and the people will elect for you, and will respect you very well, and that you will successful, you be more confident and positive, and give more hope to people who have a negative mind. You guys can come back and give us more, exciting breath and an exciting moment which is next year what we're going to happen in Virginia. So we respect that. I mean, I look at all the profiles are awesome, and we're going to win. So can we say Aksu to Kevin? We have a round of applause. Yeah, there will be me. Okay, now we're going to have introduce the people who are attending. Can we change? No, next. Okay, here. And we're going to start from the gentleman in the right hand side. Republican candidate for Virginia House of Delegate, District 11. Here's Adam Wise. I mean, instead of sitting down and come back, put here. Keep going one more time around the back.
Thank you very much. That is me, and I might be wearing the same clothes. So I am running for the House of Delegates in District 11, which is primarily Fairfax City and Oakton, a little bit of Fair Oaks right here, and Georgia Mason. In my spare time, I'm actually a self-defense and firearms instructor, and I teach right over here at the NRA range, so if anyone wants to learn how to defend themselves, that's what I do. But my campaign message is, it's your money. I want you to keep as much of it as possible. And what that means is less taxes, less regulations, more freedom for you and all of us to pursue our own goals without the government interfering. Being here at this Korean American event, I must think of my neighbor. Since I was born 45 years ago, the stories of Youngie across the street, married to a man that she met during the Korean War. And when I was just a baby, she would come over to the house and she would take me across the street, and she would feed me cookies, and I would be over there for hours. And so she passed away recently, and we were like family, even though we were neighbors. We were there at the event. We were there at the graveside because after all those years, since I was just born, they were like family to us. And so over the years, they would bring kimchi and bulgogi to the house. And so the Korean American community is very close to my heart. And I'm very interested to hear about what's going on in South Korea. I understand that some very concerning things are happening, and we must pray and hope that things turn around. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam White. Yeah. I mean, how much do you know what's going on in Korea?
So Charlie Kirk,
You right?
before he was killed, was there.
Right. Right before.
Yes.
What a week?
Very shortly, I know that Christian pastors have been arrested there. And so,
Troopers.
yes, so I understand that they're also maybe flooding South Korea with Chinese immigrants, possibly with short.
125,000 people a day.
Yes.
They're
And
coming
so,
illegally.
yes, so I understand something very serious is going on in South Korea, and I want to know more. It's very concerning.
You see this? A lot of people interested, not interested, they're very concerning what's going on in Korea. Because Korea turns to the communist, and you're going to lose whole East Sea, the passage, and with Taiwanese, we're the number one seat in the Asia. Without Korea, there's none. Peace is going to be available or it'll be exist. But that much you know, so everybody know. We thought no Americans know about it. And, well, the next one is, well, before I do that, we have the lady who know them better. So I'm going to introduce, she was trying to be Senate a few years ago, but somehow she turned back to unification North Korean system. So can you, Kimberly Lowe, she want to come up, introduce herself. She will speak a little bit about the unification, which is a point. And then she will be go over people real quick. So it will be done by probably about 10-20 minutes. And then we're going to discuss about something. Then we go from there. Here's Kimberly Lowe. Kimberly Lowe,
안녕하세요. Of Unification, which is the third in line under their Prime Minister for the Republic of Korea.
안녕하세요. 킴버리 로입니다. 제가 Korean Unification, what was it again, the committee? Korean Unification Education Committee 최초의 미국인으로서 커미티 멤버입니다. 반갑습니다.
My grandfather died in the Korean War fighting for the freedom of Korea.
예, 할아버지가 코리안 워 때 참석했던 인사입니다.
And so for generations, we're going to carry on the torch to fight for the freedom of Korea.
앞으로의 다가오는 세대의 자유와 민주를 지키려는 하는 아주 중요한 일입니다.
So for people that are here that may not know much about Korea, I'm going to go over some issues.
그래서 오늘 참석하신 분들께 한국에 대한 어떻게 많은 일들에 대해서 제가 말씀드리겠습니다.
Okay, good. There's no real diplomacy and there's no human rights for North Korea.
진정한 외교가 없고 인권도 존재하지 않습니다.
Disarming Korea, North Korea with their nuclear weapon program is a problem due to poor U.S. foreign policy in the past. The problem is, even in North Korea, they have it in their constitution to make as many nuclear warheads as possible, and they're selling 20 to 60 nuclear warheads. We don't even know how many to cash buyers that are terrorists, like the Houthis, the jihadists, Hezbollah.
미국의 과거 잘못된 대외 정책으로 인해 핵 프로그램 해체하는 일은 매우 어려워졌습니다. 북한은 가능한 빨리 핵탄두를 최대한 많이 생산하려고 하고 그들의 항법에도 핵무기 개발이 명시되어 있습니다.
North Korea is run by coercion, intimidation, surveillance, and reporting with generational punishment. So for example, if a child maybe gets hold of some type of American or English literature, you can have your family punished for generations. It's very sad.
2027년간 200개 이상의 핵탄두를 만들 것으로 예상되지만 실제로는 20에서 60개의 핵탄두만을 보유하고 있는 것으로 추정됩니다. 그러나 정확한 수는 알 수는 없지만 북한은 현금 구매자들에게 무기를 판매해왔으며 지하다스트, 하마스, 헤즈볼라, 후티 반군 등에도 무기를 공급하고 있습니다. 또한 러시아의 포탄과 포병, 장비를 보내기도 했습니다. 북한은 세 번째로는 북한은 강압과 세대별 처벌, 감시, 그리고 공포 정치로 통치되고 있습니다.
We need to think of unification as inevitable, but what is more realistic is decentralization and denuclearization and integration rather than unification.
That's a lot of words. That's big words.
통일은 불가피할 수도 있지만 보다 현실적인 접근은 비핵화보다는 북권화의 통합을 우선으로 생각하는 것입니다.
So I have a list of solutions. One, we need people in office in America that understand the Kim regime, and we need to start to include human rights in our diplomacy.
몇 가지의 제안을 드리겠습니다. 1번, 우리는 미국 정부 내에 김정은 정권의 실상을 이해하고 인권을 외교 정책에 포함시키는 인물이 필요합니다.
We need to assign real resources to organizations that are running campaigns. So for example, there's organizations trying to get information into Korea because a lot of the Koreans that are in North Korea don't understand that there's an outside world. They've been taught that America's bad, South Korea is bad. We need to stop the repatriation of North Koreans from China back into North Korea. So Koreans that have escaped, I've met many survivors that have escaped, and they've made it to China, but they're going back to their death sentence, essentially. We need to reauthorize the North Korean Human Rights Act. This actually did pass the House. It's gone to the Senate. So if there's something that your group would like to do in order to assist with this, you can contact your member of Congress and ask them to actually contact your senator, which would be Tim Kaine and Mark Warner, to reauthorize the North Korean Human Rights Act. If I ever say their names again, just make me stop. I'm just kidding.
또 제가 제시하는 해결책 또 다른 것들을 말씀드리겠습니다. 두 번째로는 중국에서 북한으로 강제 소환되는 탈북자들을 막아야 합니다. 세 번째로는 북한 인권법을 재승인하는 것을 고려해야 합니다. 이 법안은 외교위원회를 통하여 상원에 성정되었으며 현재는 백악관으로 이송되었습니다. 이 법은 북한 주민들에게 인도적 지원을 제공하고 비영리 단체들에게 인권, 민주주의, 법치주의를 촉진하고 위한 보조금을 제공합니다. 네 번째로는 또한 북한 내부 정부 접근성과 인도적, 법적 지원을 확대하며 탈북자들에게 도움을 제공할 수 있도록 하고 대통령이 특정 제재를 부정할 수 있도록 허용합니다.
I'm going to shorten this so nobody's bored. A couple things we need to do is facilitate visits to North Korea by elderly who want to return to say goodbye. And we need to be able to put our families back together. There's families separated between the North and the South.
고령의 이산 가족들이 마지막 인사를 나누기 위해 북한을 방문할 수 있도록 지원해 줘야 합니다.
As a member of the Korean Unification Education Council, as an outsider, as an American, I made a list of solutions that the local Korean community could do themselves in order to help solve some of the issues between North and South Korea. One is that there's a presence at Korean events. There's people on this education council, they're not showing up to events with people. We need to educate the Korean youth in Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. The youth don't understand what happened in the Korean War. They don't understand the difference between North and South Korea. As such, we've partnered with Liberty University in order to have a 4-week program on the history of Korea that can be shared with your community. There's an individual in your community who would like to partner to help create a monument for North Koreans who have lost their life. That's a great thing that you can do in your community, to come together between the North and South Koreans, because there's a lot of bad sentiment between the North and the South. Collaboration with North Korean defectors in order to heal bad sentiments on both sides. I've spoken to Liberty University about having a flight school for the North Korean students that are here, which may not be a good idea if they go back to North Korea. It's fine if they stay. National August 15th events and have a really big event. I don't really think we're going to solve this with politics. I think this is a spiritual fix too. There's been a lot of pastors that have gone to North Korea that have been able to do so much for the economy. They've been able to start nursing homes, orphanages, hotels, feed thousands of people. So I think it's also a spiritual fix. I don't know. That's a good question.
그리고 한국통일교육협의 회의 비전을 좀 말씀드리도록 하겠습니다. 첫 번째로 한국 관련 행사에 참여하기, 두 번째로는 버지니아, 메릴랜드, 워싱턴 DC 지역의 한국 청년들을 교육하기, 또한 세 번째로는 북한에서 목숨을 잃은 사람들을 기리기 위한 기념비 건립에 협력하기, 네 번째로는 미 의회 의원들을 교육하기 위한 브리핑 세션 개최, 그리고 다섯 번째로는요, 지역 사회에 더 많은 홍보 및 참여 유도, 여섯 번째로는 북한 탈북자들과의 협력을 통해 부정적인 감정을 치유하기는 겁니다. 일곱 번째는 북한인들을 리버티 대학교에 항공 또는 공학 프로그램 지원하도록 돕기.
Thank you all for coming. It's good to see many of you again.
Hi, I am Cassandra Alcoyne, and I am running for the House of Delegates in District 7. And District 7 includes Reston, Waples Mills, which we're in right now, and a little bit of Herndon, and a little bit more of Oakton, which is Vale. So that is my area. Before I start, I want to say thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm very sorry to hear about what is going on in South Korea. My personal perspective with Korea was when my husband and I lived in Japan for 5 years, and we, as part of his position, we would travel quite a bit. So we went to South Korea, and I got to, with my daughter, we actually got to go travel the DMZ. And what I was struck by was the optimism of our host about the reunification with families in North Korea. They were very, very hopeful that one day they would be able to get back together with the family that had been separated as part of the conflict many, many years ago. So I'm sorry to hear about where we are today in South Korea, because my husband, who was in the Navy, we as a United States consider South Korea as an ally for many, many years, so I'm hoping things will get better. So I'm running because I'm running on a platform that's community focused. I live in a community of Fairfax County, have lived here for many, many years. A few trips out, with my husband, in Japan and elsewhere, but always came back to Northern Virginia. And I was always, very happy to be here, and I still am happy to be here, but what I've seen in the last 10 years, 15 years, is that we've got a real divisiveness going on in our community based on issues that are taking place. And I think we have lost sight of what we need to do that will better the lives of many people. If you look at my opponent, for example, the types of issues she puts forth are very, very divisive. The types of issues that I'm putting forward, I think many people will benefit from, and it could resonates with many. So similar to Adam, I also have in my platform affordability. It's become very unaffordable for many of our young children, for many of our seniors, for many of our families to actually live in Fairfax County. So I think we need to do a great deal more to let people keep more money in their pocket. And we have a lot of taxes now in Fairfax County. Most recently, we got the meals tax applied to us. So it continues to build upon, taking more money. And so now our children, my daughter, for example, she just graduated from college. She can't afford to buy a place for many years. I think the average age is like 34 that you can actually buy a place. And so she's living with us because even the rents are too high. We love having her. We really do, but I know that she's looking forward to that day where she can be very, very independent. And we want all our children to be independent and be able to live in an area that they actually grew up in. So I look at our affordability issues, I look at our housing issues, our taxes, our car tax, for example. Many states do not have a car tax, and we need to start looking at that and cutting that. The other thing is, and this has become our economy. Our economy is going to take a little bit of it's taking a little bit of a hit, if you will, with the federal government downsizing that's taking place. So we really have to concentrate on taking our economy and making it more diverse. And one of the areas that concerns me is my opponent and also the Democrat Party want to take away a law called right to work. And basically, right to work, if you repeal that, you end up being more unions come in, and you end up having to be forced into a union. So I am very much want to protect the right to work because it allows for worker freedom, and it also allows for our businesses to invest. It attracts businesses when they know that they're not going to have to deal with unions. Education is a big issue. I ran for school board 2 years ago, I guess, 2023. And the reason I ran for it because I saw that our merit, we were not having, our children were not being moved forward based on merit. The standards were lower. If you remember Thomas Jefferson, the whole admissions policy changed. And so I ran for school board because I felt it was very important for us to get back to that achievement matters. And we needed to put a little bit more fiscal accountability into what money. So education is very important to my platform. And then safety. Our area has great areas of safety, and there's other areas you don't want to really walk in. I think we need to get much back to that. So I am very much in support of our law enforcement, and I want them to be funded appropriately and give them the clarity and what they can do and when they're working with the people that we don't want on the street. So there's some laws there that we could actually change. And so those are the big things, to make our community affordable, safe, and have our children be educated so that they are able to come into the society and they'll be able to take those great jobs and get into great professions. One of the things, and I'm going to end on this, okay? So our Virginia legislature is 51-49, Democrats to Republicans. And it is incredibly important that we have to flip it. If we want to keep our economy going, if we want to have a right to work state not get repealed, if we want our worker freedom, if we want our taxes down, the wrong people are the majority, and we need candidates. And so I feel very strongly about balance in our legislature, and so I know that's why many candidates are running too. So just let you know that we've got some important issues on the table that if we aren't given the chance to come in and be a majority, we will see these issues coming and it will not be good for our society nor our children. So with that, I will end and thank you very much for your time and listening, and let's be welcome to any questions. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Mr. Nguyen.
And I'm the Republican candidate for the Virginia House of Delegates, District 9. I will title. I'm Vietnamese, by the way. Sorry if I did not introduce that. And we've always been grateful for the Koreans that fought in the Vietnam War. You guys sent 2 divisions, the Tiger divisions, and I actually do have friends now who are Vietnamese Korean officers in the South Korean military, and Vietnam and Korea have very similar history with the war against the communists, but different outcome. And we are very happy for South Korea to escape communism, and very deeply regret and sad that we could not preserve ourselves against the communist invasion. And so when we're here, we escape communism, and we will do everything we can to prevent communism, either in South Korea or here in the U.S. And they are doing similar things, and that's very concerning. What President Lee Jae-myung, thank you, is doing is it's the same as what the Democrats are doing here, right? And you guys can see it. I can see it. We can see it a mile away. And then we try to warn all the Americans. And then we rise up. And then we do everything we can. And I'm doing my part of that. And that's why I'm running for office, so that we can have a voice. And when I go to Richmond, I can tell them, I can warn them the dangers of what's happening. That we cannot have it in the USA. We cannot have it in South Korea. And for you guys that don't know, basically the left, the Democrat Party of South Korea kind of usurped power, and they proceeded with closer ties to all the communist countries, especially China. And then, so now you have a lot of Chinese immigrants coming to South Korea and North Korean infiltrators. And the North Korean infiltrators, just like the Chinese infiltrators here, come to the government. It's even harder for them to discern between, who's real, who are the real defectors versus who wants to infiltrate and destroy our countries from within. And and some of the latest news, right? The President Lee Jae-myung, and so the Assistant Secretary of Defense of South Korea just recently met with also the Deputy Secretary of Defense of Vietnam, who's a communist country, who also had close ties with China, right? So that's fear. So just imagine that, right? China is influencing Vietnam. You have the circle that the U.S. is trying to contain, right? From Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand. But we left Vietnam open as for the communists, and so China has the influence in Vietnam, and now South Korea is having close ties with Vietnam and China, and so who knows, in a blink of an eye, you all can lose South Korea. And guess what happens also with communist countries? They have no morals. They're evil. And the Deputy Secretary of Defense of Vietnam coming to South Korea, and guess what he did? He got accused and basically almost arrested for sexually harassing a South Korean aide. And it's embarrassing. But that's what South Korea is having ties with, instead of here going to the U.S. to talk to President Trump and shoring up our defenses, right, against a nuclear-capable North Korea. That's very, very concerning. And I understand all that. I'm following it very closely. It is not a joking matter, right? And that's why we're here. That's why we have great people like him, who is actively trying to pacify the Korean Peninsula, but they are playing the infiltration game. it's hard to separate, you know, your enemies from friends if now their friends are communist countries. Right.
5 years ago, I was a Democrat. Yeah, I was. I thought I was. And remember when they closed schools down? Well, as a parent, I have 3 sons. And I used to be the director of a dementia unit in a nursing home. And then I quit work to stay home to raise 3 sons. And COVID happened, and we started watching the school board meetings to watch what the return to school plan would be, how long the kids would be out of school because of COVID. And you know what? There was not a return to school plan. All 12 school board members and the superintendent were Democrats. And they were talking about electric school buses, and they were talking about renaming the schools, and they were talking about changing the admissions process to discriminate against Asians at Thomas Jefferson High School. And meanwhile, the kids are rotting at home. You know, they're not learning, especially the children who had special needs. So we tried to recall school board members, a bipartisan group of people. And then my son came home actually saying un-American things, my youngest son. And I was like, what's going on here? So I decided to run for school board, and I was on the ballot in 2023. And the superintendent, the new one, came in and she did a video introduction of herself. And she said, we want to have equal outcomes for all students and use children to change society. And I was like, ding, 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 communism. And to me it was, I couldn't believe it. I know you don't. Hi. So I ran for school board, and the person I'm running against now was on the school board. Now she's in the House of Delegates. So what happens in Fairfax County is you could be a clown. If you have a D by your name, people will vote for you. And that's unfortunate because we're supposed to be an intelligent county, but they're not intelligent in politics. And in fact, in Fairfax County, out of 30 elected officials, talking about school board, board of supervisors, the Virginia House of Delegates, the Virginia Senate, or state congressmen and senators, they're all Democrats except for one, and that's Pat Harity. And so when there's no diversity of thought, this is a problem, right? This is why our taxes are so high. Over the course since January, me and my team have knocked on 7,000 doors. We've sent 23,000 texts and thousands of phone calls. So I am committed to trying to win in this this difficult area. But so my commitment, I would extend to you what you can do. You can look up who your delegate is. You can donate to them or offer to volunteer for their campaign. You can put up a yard sign, one of our yard signs. You can join the Fairfax Republicans. The ladies, there's 6 women's Republican clubs all across Fairfax County. You're welcome to join the one that's nearest you. And you can become involved by that starting there. And the biggest thing is to be unafraid. We don't care. We don't care. This is, you cannot change society through our children. We're not having it. So I walk up and down all the streets and all the neighborhoods, and I'm not afraid, and you're not going to be afraid either. And you're going to vote, and you're going to get your friends to vote. And I'm so happy to be here tonight, and thank you for having me.
버지니아 주에 국민학교, 초등학교 애들이 여자 남자 같이 써요. 그 다음에 샤워룸도 같이 써요. 남자들이 도망가요. 근데 이게 합법이라는 거예요.
So the person who I'm running against now was on the school board when they made that policy, and she has a transgender child. So the whole policy was built on emotion and sand. All right, so if you have an issue in school, if you have dyslexia, or you have another issue that needs accommodation, what happens is you get a team, the teachers, the counselor, your parents, and you sit down and you make a plan. Well, these kids can just They don't even have a diagnosis. They can just assert that they're transgender and they get accommodations, and they skipped the planning process, the diagnosis. So clearly there's going to be people who take advantage of this, to lurk in the bathrooms, and to play in sports. And you know, this extends to overnight field trips. They will put a transgender a boy, or I guess it would be a girl, in with your daughters. They can and they will do that. My friend had a son, and she went to send a college transcript. He was a senior, and there was a female name. They had socially transitioned her son to female at school for a whole year without telling her. So by the time they got to that point, he was 18, he graduated, he started hormones, and she's never going to have grandchildren because of that. So it's sinister. And it's another way to cull the children from the parents, and it has to stop.
But there is legislation that would have to be passed to compel the schools to change course on this. And there was some legislation introduced in the 2025 Assembly by several Republican delegates, and none of our Democrat delegates up here even entertained it. So. But to follow on what Sandra has said, I mean, we have a policy in our Fairfax County schools today where if a child wants to change their pronouns, they want to there's no requirement to go talk to the parents up front. And one of the problems we have with my delegate, and I'm sure the other delegate, they are working on that same level at the Virginia state, where they want to put some legislation through that would makes sense to require to notify minors. They're not putting it in, and so I think it's a real bad thing. Because it breaks families, and it really does break our society when we're not when we take parents out of the whole discussion too.
On the other hand, the current president, Yoon Sung-yeol, was the president. He got kicked out because of the defrauding and the communists. They're planning for about 10 years. He got kicked out. Both wife, which is the first lady, and the president, they went to jail. So they're flip around. So these days, when you go to Korea, you are criminal. So as you say that, I'm the criminal. You can't say somebody criminal. You can't say you're a sinner. So as you say sinner, you became a sinner. I'm the sinner. Everybody got it? What I try to tell you? Yeah. So those things, creations are happening today. Surprise! Today we have a sign coming up. We reporting International Criminal Court. It's in the Netherlands, and we have a Europe's security organization, and we are lawsuing, criminal lawsuing South Korean president, current, which is, I don't want to call his president, he's a fake name. And we are today filing ICC, and hopefully you guys help me out to let the people know what the Korea is going on, because they're cutting off all the communications. So we don't know how to get it now. Because if something come out with just keep talking about, bad about the Trump and this, keep influencing the Korean people against America right now. So a lot of people say, America, oh, Trump, no! But they don't even know what the detail, what's inside, why he started doing it. So that will try to be helping people out today.
참석하시는 장군분들, 이런 분들하고 교류를 해보면 이런 분들도 깜짝 놀라세요. 그러니까 정보계 쪽에 계셨던 분들도 한국이 프락시 컨트리가 됐다고 그러면 다들 놀라십니다. 언제 그렇게 됐냐고. 그래서 제가 이거를 설명드릴 때 항상 무슨 얘기를 하냐면, 제가 얼마 전에 마이클 리, I had an interview with a former CIA agent who worked for CIA and DIA for more than 40 years. And he's a Korean American. And he claimed that Korea has become a proxy nation during the Kim Dae-jung's regime, started in 1998. And not many South Koreans know that actually. The reason is because all the news outlet, the mainstream media, and the legislature, and executive branch, they are all compromised. You have to believe me. It's all compromised. That's why the election fraud that has been going on for more than 23 years was never revealed until this moment. So that's the kind of fight we are facing. So President Yoon Suk-yeol, he declared martial law to fully investigate Korean National Election Commission, which is 중앙선관위. So 중앙선관위의 부정선거, 23년 된 부정선거를 수사하기 위해서 계엄을 했는데 계엄을 실패했죠. But he failed because, like I said, it's all compromised. So even the chief of KCIA, they're all spies. They're all spies. Trust me, they're spies. And even the Secretary of Defense Minister, Defense Department are also spies from either North or CCP in South Korea. That has been a long, it's been that way very, very long time. And it is just, the truth is just coming out recently. So we are in a very, very dangerous situation actually. So that's why we really need help from our allies. 그래서 우리 그 마이클 리 박사님이 하시는 얘기가, 여러분들 마이클 리 박사님 아시죠? 다들 아시죠? CIA, 미국에서 CIA, DIA 요원으로 북한 관련해서 모든 정보를 가장 많이 알고 있는 그 한국계 미국 분이시고 현재 90세가 좀 넘으셨습니다. 그리고 그분께서는 그 김신조 아시죠? 무장공비 김신조, 박정희 대통령 암살하러 왔었던 김신조, 그 김신조를 신문한 사람이고요. 그리고 칼기 폭파 사건 김현희 아시죠? 김현희 간첩, 그 사람을 신문한 사람입니다. 그 밖에 400명의 북한 간첩들을 신문한 사람입니다. 우리나라에서 나온 배출한 최고의 요원입니다. 그분이 증언을 하는 거예요. 이제 이 내용들도 사실 처음 알려진 내용이 아니라 오래 알려진 내용인데도 불구하고 한국에서 이런 심각한 사안들을 계속 감춰온 겁니다. 그래서 아무도 몰랐던 겁니다. 아시는 분들은 계셨지만 대중들이 몰랐었던 겁니다. So here's the key. I think I can help Mr. Hyun and Kimberly and Sandra and what's your name, John? Excuse me, Adam. I think I can help our delegates how to turn Democratic-leaning voters to conservative-leaning voters. The key is history. They have to understand, they have to know the real history. So the Chinese Communist Party, their best tactic is to deceive and lie the enemy. That's their best strategy, that's their best tactic. So even the North Korea, the founder of North Korea, who's Kim Il-sung, is not his real name. His real name is Kim Sung-ju. And Kim Il-sung was actually the real Kim Il-sung is another guy who was the real hero, who fought bravely against the Japanese imperialism. But he was 30 years older than the fake Kim Il-sung, who is the real founder of the North Korea. And this type of history is never taught to our children in South Korea, in even Korean Americans society. So that's why we have to focus on. You know, when I look at our Korean people worldwide, you know, I see many, many patriots. You know, regardless of left or right, regardless of their party, they're all patriots, but they have the different information, different type of information, wrong type of information. So we have to start teaching them what really happened, and they will eventually understand why we have to support conservative movement, you know, and President Trump and our delegates who are working for our nation and people. 그래서 제가 그 백골단이라는 이름을 지금까지도 유지하고 있는 이유는, 이 백골단은 원래 한국전쟁 때 이승만 대통령을 지킨 민병대입니다. 물론 80년대에 그 특수경찰도 백골단으로 불렸지만 그거는 이제 닉네임이고요, 별명이고, 백골단의 원래 이름은 이승만 대통령을 지켰던 민병대고, 이승만 대통령은 윤석열 대통령처럼 계엄을 선포를 했었습니다. 다들 모르셨죠? 한국전쟁 때 계엄을 선포했습니다. 직선제 개헌을 위해서. 그러니까 원래는 국회의원들이 임시국회에서 이승만 대통령을 초대 대통령으로 뽑았지 않습니까? 그런데 지금처럼 국민이 대통령을 뽑는 그 직선제를 도입하기 위해서 계엄을 했습니다. 근데 그때 이것을 막는 사람들이 누구였냐면 지금처럼 국회를 장악하고 있는 엘리트 정치 카르텔들, elite politicians, corrupted elite politicians in South Korea. 그때도 그렇게 부패한 국회의원들이 자신들의 권한을 놓지 않기 위해서 대한민국의 민주주의의 발전을 막기 위해서 이승만 대통령 암살 시도를 합니다. 그 사람이 김시현이라고 하는 의원인데요. 그 사람이 조선노동당에 있었던 사람이고, 그리고 박헌영과 같이 러시아, 소비에트 연방으로 가서 이 한국인 조선인 대표로 그런 공산주의 대회를 열었던 사람입니다. 그런 사람이 이승만 대통령을 저격하려고 했습니다. 민주주의를 막고 공산주의를 도입하기 위해서. 이런 역사적 사실들을 우리 학교에서는 절대 안 가르칩니다. 그러니 그 당시에 6.25 전쟁 중에 백골부대, 백골병단, 이 백골 출신들이 이승만 대통령 관절을 지키다 죽고, 또 민병대 중에서는 군대로 들어가지 못한 사람들은 저희들처럼 일반 시민들이 몽둥이 들고 모여서 대통령 지키겠다고 관저 앞에 모인 게 백골단이었습니다. 이런 역사적 중요한 사실이 있기 때문에 그 백골단은 정치 깡패가 아닙니다. 전쟁 중에 대통령을 지키겠다고 자발적으로 모인 사람들이 어떻게 정치 깡패입니까? 민병대죠. 그죠? 그것도 대한민국의 자유민주주의를 지키기 위해서 그렇게 했던 사람들인 거죠. 그래서 만약에 제가 사람들한테 잘 보이기 위해서 그냥 내 이름 석자 알리고 뭐 사람들한테 인기 좀 얻어보려고 했다면 진실을 알리는 일을 하지 않을 겁니다. 그러나 중요한 것은 우리가 지금 진실을 알리는 게 너무 중요합니다. 왜냐하면 공산주의와의 싸움은 거짓과 진실의 싸움입니다. 저들은 모든, 심지어는 눈앞에 있는 것까지 거짓말로 조작을 하고 사기를 칩니다. 그게 지금 한국에서 벌어지는 일입니다. 모든 게 조작이고 사기고, 이승만 대통령 폄훼하고, 그리고 사실은 김구 선생 같은 경우도 이 대한민국의 건국을 반대하신 분입니다. 그러니까 독립운동을 하신 건 맞는데 대한민국의 건국을 반대하고 김일성 주도의 이 통일 공산주의 국가를 만들자, 그걸 주장했던 게 김구 선생이고, 그것을 막으려고 했던 게 서북청년단의 이 청년들이죠. 백골단이고, 특히 이제 서북청년단의 안두희 열사 들어보셨을 겁니다. 그래서 그 김구 선생을 이제 저격을 하죠. 그리고 나서 이 안두희 열사께서는 나중에 연세가 좀 드셔서 공산주의자로부터 좌익 세력으로부터 살해를 당하십니다. 굉장히 많은 비판을 또 받으셨죠. 근데 그렇게 안두희 선생을 살해한 고분은 뭐 1년 만에 다시 사면이 돼서 좌파 정권이 또 사면해줘서 잘 살고 있습니다. 이제 이런 일들이 사실 우리 청년들한테 전혀 알려지지 않고 있고요. 저도 기자 출신인데도 제가 기자 생활할 때도 저도 몰랐습니다. 그런데 부정선거가 발생하고 코로나 팬데믹이 발생을 하면서 이런 사실들을 과거에 국정원에 계셨던 분들, 뭐 마이클 리 박사님처럼 CIA에 계셨던 분들, 실제 정보를 하셨던 분들과 만나게 되면서 알게 된 거죠. 그러니까 저도 조선일보, 주간조선, 월간조선, 우리나라에서 가장 국민들이 많이 보는 메이저 신문사에 있었는데도 불구하고 그 수많은 기자들하고 같이 있었는데도 이걸 몰랐다는 것은 그만큼 대한민국이 적화가 돼 있다는 겁니다. 모든 영역에서. 그래서 우리가 이 모든 것을, 이 위기를 해결할 수 있는 방법은 여기 계신 분들께서 먼저 역사를 아셔야 됩니다. 그리고 지금 이렇게 우리 한국 이슈에 관심 가져주시는 이런 우리 하원 의원, 앞으로 이제 하원 의원 되실 분들, 나중에 또 상원 의원이 되실 수도 있고 주지사가 될 수도 있고 또 압니까? 여기서 대통령 나올지? 그러면 이런 분들을 특히 이런 자리 마련해 주신 우리 제임스 신 목사님께서 너무 귀한 자리 마련해 주셨는데 이런 좋은 기회를 살려서 이분들을 우리가 잡아야 됩니다. 철저하게 우리가 이분들을 서포트를 해드려야 됩니다. 네, 그리고 이분들한테도 우리가 뭐가 필요하다. 이 커뮤니티에서 이런 교육 해달라 요청하면 아마 해줄 겁니다. 왜냐하면 그것이 미국의 이익에 부합하니까. 그래서 이스라엘 사람들처럼 이스라엘 사람들이 지금 한 700만 되죠. 700만. 우리나라 사람들이 한 2,500만 된다 그러더라고요. 숫자로도 보면 그렇게 차이는 많이 안 납니다. 그러나 이스라엘 사람들이 얼마나 정치에 적극적으로 개입을 하고 얼마나 이렇게 활동을 해서 이 미국을 완전한 동맹국으로 만들었습니까? 우리도 그렇게 해야 됩니다. 네, 감사합니다.
When I came over here, there was not many Koreans here. And while I was working in the convenience store, I was advised to be store manager next day. That store was named Ice Retail Store. I was doing everything, checking in, merchandise, sign out, and pay them, and wait on customers, and bring milk from a truck. And I've been doing it for 2 years, and then I went to the business. My wife said, you shouldn't do this. Go to the city and do some business. So we went to Capitol Hill, the Jewish delicatessen, I didn't know anything about it. They told me everything, teach me everything. We run it for 3-4 years. That's the time I thought, politics is pretty interesting. I learned from the senators and stuff, senators and House people. Our restaurant had a caucus room for meetings every morning, especially meeting with politicians and business people. And I thought politics is pretty big, I thought. So I learned from it. And I induced by one of them to get into small business under ALA program. You know what that is, right? That is the preference for minority people, like Asian or the wound veterans. I got into the government contract for Andrews and all those bases. Now it's about 42 years. My son is carrying my business. I don't want to tell too much about it. That's what America is. I come in here with $7,000. My brother gave me all this checkbook. And land here, and I work from bottom and become a businessman. I'm 88 years old. I'm so happy and proud to see everybody here, and try to tell how I made it here in my life here. So I think everybody over here tonight is doing maybe better than us. And one thing I'm glad is recently Trump sent me Trump sent me her name is Alice, financial chairwoman, to invite me to golf around in Florida this soon. So anybody want to join us? Let's go. Play golf at Trump. So I don't want to take too much time, but let's be together. We have a problem in Korea. You may know, but Korea is not Korea. Korea is influenced by China and North Korea, and they brainwash them. And Korean people don't know what's going on. See, Korea is pretty soon, dominated by North Korea and China. We lose Korea pretty soon. You don't think, you check with the Trump administration, they tell you. All the intelligence people, they know what's going on. So we gotta be careful and wake up. We gotta make our voice to tell that Ijeong, he gotta go into the Gwacheon. You know what Gwacheon is? Gwacheon Hotel. You know, he should be detained there. He not eligible for president. You know. I'm telling you. So we gotta get together and make our noise and tell Trump to get that Ijeong out of there. Okay?
안녕하세요.
안녕하십니까. 교포 또 우리의 대한민국에 있는 우리 국민 여러분. 저는 US 워싱턴 한인회 회장 제임스 신 목사입니다. 아마 오래전에 저를 한번 뵀을 것 같습니다. 우리 가짜 이재명 대통령을 고소했던 사람입니다. 그때는 그 후원이었었고 후보자였었고 지금은 앞으로 잘할 줄 알았는데 뭔가가 좀 잘못되는 것 같고요. 뭐 정치적이나 경제적이나 또 사람들의 그 관계나 이게 모든 게 전부 다 이렇게 갈라져 있고 컨퓨즈하고 있는데 이번에 저희가 디사이드 한 거는 미국에 있는 우리 교포들이나 단체장들이 모여서 지금 시국에 대해서 우리가 좀 전환하는 대신에 그래도 미국 사람이니까 미국 정치인들이랑 이걸 얘기하고 해야 되겠다는 그런 결정을 했습니다. 그래서 오늘 이재명 대통령이라고 하는 사람을 국제범죄 재판소 ICC에 오늘 고발이 들어갑니다. 그래서 좀 유럽의 안보리하고 그다음에 ICC하고 그다음에 어디셔널로는 이제 우리가 확실하기 위해서 이화영 전 평화부지사를 다시 고소를 합니다. 그분이 스프링 코트에서 결정이 났기 때문에 이거 빼박이라고 그러죠. 빼박으로 들어와서 같이 들어가게 되면 인베스티게이가 들어오면 이제 이재명이 그러니까 이화영이 무죄면 이재명도 무효. 그다음에 이화영이 유죄면 이재명 괜찮아요. 그러면 둘 다가 길티가 됩니다. 그래서 오늘 미국에 있는 우선 풀뿌리 운동 가치는 우리나라를 위해서 조국을 위해서 앞으로도 일해줄 수 있는 우리 파리티션 정치가들을 모여서 여기에 대해서 우리가 조금 서로들 소통을 해봤고요. 알다시피 지금 방송을 봤겠지만 많은 거 알고 있지만 이 사람들도 약간 사이런하는 스타일이거든요. 우리는 그러면 안 됩니다. 마지막으로 지금은 침묵할 때가 아닙니다. 이건 제가 정치가 아니고 이거는 진짜 세계적으로 평화와 또 우리의 나라 사람들에 있는 그 우리의 그 전통과 전례, 그 6,000년, 5,000년 역사가 무너지게 되고 있습니다. 여러분들 우리 정신 똑바로 차려서 우리나라를 구할 수 있게 하고 또 좋은 방법으로 또 서로들 피 안 보고 어떻게 말로 끝내야 되는데 참 힘들 것 같지만 아무튼 교포님들 우리는 미국에서 열심히 정치 뭐에도 아니겠지만 열심히 우리나라를 위해서 열심히 일할 거니까 우리 교포님들 우리 국민님들 이번까지 더 이상 저희들 할 수가 없어요. 이제 국민들께서 계몽되셔서 우리나라를 살려야 됩니다. 여러분들 열심히 나라를 지켜주십시오. 우리는 우리대로 나라를 지켜서 하나가 돼서 앞으로 우리가 통일되고 앞으로 우리 우수 때 만날 때 우리 그때 대한민국 만세 할 수 있도록 우리 같이 노력할 것을 주님께 약속드립니다. 감사합니다.